Hi everyone. In this course, we'll be discussing about basics you need to know about COVID-19, under which our topics are: what is coronavirus, how does it work, what is COVID-19, how it spreads, reproductive number, social distancing, incubation period, symptoms, diagnosis, prevention, treatment, complications, who are at risk, what to do if you're sick, some of the myths and facts about COVID-19, and conclusion. As a part of introduction, I'd like to say that this course provides a general introduction to COVID-19, what it is and what is the structure, how it works, how crucial it is for human race, and the important preventive aspect, how to prevent this disease, and the treatment and diagnosis part. Moreover, we face a lot of myths during this outbreak because since it is a new type of a virus, we have lack of knowledge, so we tend to follow whatever we get to know. So here, we provide valid facts and with which we can break the myths and update ourselves with valid information. What is coronavirus? They are large family of zoonotic viruses, which means they are transmitted between animals and people. They causes severe illness ranging from common cold to more severe illness such as Middle East respiratory syndrome and severe acute respiratory syndrome. The word corona means crown, and when examined slowly, we can see that this virus is round in shape, and this round virus has a crown of proteins or crown-like spikes that protrude from its surface. So we'll be discussing about how the virus actually affects the human cells. What happens is, this virus, that is the coronavirus or COVID-19 virus, has got a double-stranded envelope and a glycoprotein which is projecting outside the cell, and a single-stranded RNA inside the virus. So once this virus enters the human body, the glycoprotein which is projecting outside the cell of the virus will come in contact with the normal cell membrane of the target cell inside a human body. Now, what happens is, once this virus molecule come in contact with the cell membrane, the glycoprotein present on the virus particle will help in the endocytosis or the entrance of the virus molecule into the cell through the cell membrane, and hence the virus molecule or the virus particle enters the cell cytoplasm. Once it enters the cell cytoplasm, it releases the RNA, and which will further results in the replication of the RNA molecules, and N proteins will also be released inside the cell. Now, once this process happens, the virus then move out of the cell by a process called endoexocytosis. Now, we'll be discussing about how the virus actually infects a cell and how it leads to its replication. So, what happens is, The virus particle or the coronavirus COVID-19 has got a structure with a double-stranded envelope, single-stranded RNA molecule, we'll be discussing about how this virus particle actually infects a human cell, what it really happens. Now, we know that this virus particle has got an envelope and glycoprotein which is projecting outside the cell, which gives a spike-like appearance or a crown-like appearance. It also has a single-stranded RNA. Now, once it enters the human body, it reaches the target cell. How it infects the target cell is, once it reaches the cell, the glycoprotein present on the virus molecule will get attached to the cell membrane of the target cell. Once it gets attached to the cell membrane of the target cell, through a process called endocytosis, it reaches inside the cell cytoplasm. Once it is inside the cell cytoplasm, the RNA inside the virus particle comes out and replicates inside the cell cytoplasm. Along with the RNA molecule, there is also presence of N proteins. This leads to replication of virus particles. Now, once it replicates inside the cell, it has to come out of the cell. This process is called as exocytosis. Now there are more virus particles which is outside the cell. So these particles can hence affect another cells through the same process. Now once these virus particles comes out of the cell, the previous cell will undergo cell death. This is how the virus actually affects the cell. What is COVID-19? COVID-19 is the infectious disease caused by the most recently discovered coronavirus. In December 2019, the first reports of an unknown respiratory infection emerged from WUHAN, a place in China. The source of that infection was quickly identified as a novel coronavirus. On February 11, 2020, the World Health Organization officially named this novel coronavirus as COVID-19. COVID is a short form for coronavirus disease. It is the official name of the disease. World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said CO stands for corona, V stands for virus, and D stands for disease. And the number 19 refers to the fact that the disease was first detected in 2019, though the outbreak occurred in 2020. How it spreads? It spreads through person-to-person spread from contaminated surfaces or objects, or community spread. Person-to-person spread. It can spread between people who are in close contact with one another. Through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes within about 3 feet or 1 meter. These droplets can land in the mouth or noses of people who are nearby or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a person with COVID-19 is most contagious when they are showing symptoms. Spread from contaminated surfaces or objects. like a pen, book, or a towel, or anything of that sort which comes in close contact with an infected person, and then if another person touches it or come in close contact with these objects, there are high chances of getting infected. Community spread. It means people have been infected with the virus in an area, including some who are not sure how or where they become infected. Like there is an infected person, he comes in contact with another lady, she gets the infection, and from her she can transmit to another person, and from her to another, maybe one or more than one person, and so on. This continues like a chain and gets into community spread. Reproductive number. What is a reproductive number? Viruses are given a number called as R0 based on how quickly they spread. This number is known as reproductive number. We can explain it much clearly by a graph. Imagine there is a graph with number of infected individuals and time. If the reproductive number gives a straight line, it means R0 is equal to 1. That is, one infected person passes the infection to one new person. As I said, based on how quickly they spread, that is R0. So R0 1 is one person infecting another one person. If R0 is less than 1, it says that infection period is less. And if R0 is more than 1, it says that increased number of individuals are getting infection from one single person. That is approximately one person spread to 2 people. So R less than 1 says infection period is less, or less number of persons are infected with one individual. And R is 0 says that it is steady, one person infecting another one person. So the infection is steady. And if R is more than 1 says that it is continues to spread, which is more critical. That is, one person can infect more than one, that is 2 or more. Currently, the current estimate of COVID-19 is approximately 2.2, that is R0 2.2. What is social distancing? Social distancing is a non-pharmaceutical infection prevention and control. It is an intervention implemented to avoid or decrease contact between those who are infected with a disease-causing pathogen and those who are not, so as to stop or slow down the rate and extent of disease transmission in a community. This eventually leads to decrease in spread, morbidity, and mortality due to the disease. For example, if 2 people maintains a distance of at least 2 meters or 6 feet, there are less chances of spreading this infection from one to another. In detail, imagine this is a person who is infected with COVID-19. He comes in close contact with 3 other persons, and each of them in turn come in contact with 3 more. This cycle continues, and these 3 come in contact with another 9. This cycle continues, and you can see that from a single infected person, the infection has reached to different sections, and almost majority of them are infected. How can this be prevented? This can be prevented by a method called social distancing. Imagine that this person, the single person, infected person, stay at home, or rather the other people stay at home, work from home, or avoid unnecessarily meetings or going out, partying, etc. So if they stay at home, they have less chance to get infected, and these three persons won't be infected, and hence the entire group of people won't be infected. So this is an important way to prevent COVID-19 spread, that is by social distancing. Incubation period. Imagine there is an infection and you get contracted with the infection, and the disease or the symptoms of the disease are seen at a later stage. So the time between when you contract the infection and you develop the disease or symptoms is known as an incubation period. For COVID-19, the incubation period is 2 to 14 days, or on an average of around 5 days. Symptoms of COVID-19. Common symptoms. The symptoms that is commonly seen in this disease are fever, tiredness, dry cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty in breathing. This is similar to what we see in other respiratory illness such as influenza or common cold. Rare symptoms are aches and pains, nasal congestion, runny nose, sore throat, and diarrhea. Some of the emergency warning signs include difficulty in breathing or shortness of breath, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion or inability to arouse, bluish lips or face. Coming to the diagnosis part of COVID-19, it is very important for tracking the virus. Why? Because it is important for understanding the epidemiology, informing case management, and for suppressing the transmission. Only by diagnosis we can do these critical measures. We do diagnosis by using blood, saliva, or tissue samples like swabs from nose and throat or fluid from the lungs. An important test is real-time polymerase chain reaction. It detects very small amount of viral RNA, but it is not a very sensitive test. In severe cases, we have chest CT to detect presence of viral pneumonia. Presently, there are few molecular assays which are coming into action for detecting the viral strains as well as the similar genomes. Prevention of COVID-19. We know that the treatment is a very difficult part for COVID-19 as there are no vaccines till date. So it is always better to prevent this disease from infecting you. There are few steps for preventing the disease. Wash your hands, often with soap and water, for 20 seconds or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your mouth and nose with your elbow, tissue or cloth when you cough or sneeze. And then this tissue or cloth can be thrown off. Avoid touching your eyes, nose and mouth if your hands aren't clean. Avoid close contact with anyone who has flu-like symptoms. Avoid touching surfaces in public places like elevator buttons, door handles, handrails, etc. Avoid sharing dishes, glasses, bedding, and other household items if you're sick. Clean and disinfect surfaces and things you often touch like mobile phones, wallet, keys, etc. Stay at home if you are sick. Avoid eating raw meat. Only cooked meat should be taken. Avoid contact with live animals. Maintain a distance of at least 2 meter or 1 meter, that is almost 3 feet, between yourself and others. Avoid unnecessary crowds. Avoid cruise and other non-essential travel if it is not very necessary. Contact your nearby healthcare provider in case you suspect any flu-like infections. Wear masks only if you are sick and if you are dealing with anybody who is sick. Treatment for COVID-19. There is no specific antiviral treatment and there are no vaccines recommended or currently available for COVID-19. There can be given supportive care by providing fluids, oxygen, and other ventilatory support. And also the treatment is symptomatic. Mechanical ventilation may be necessary in cases with respiratory failure, and hemodynamic support can be given in case of shocks, and other symptomatic cases can be treated. Other than that, there are no vaccines till date. But definitely scientists are behind this and hope we'll be getting a vaccine against this deadly disease. Some of the complications of coronavirus or COVID-19. There are cases detected with novel coronavirus infected pneumonia, as it is mostly infecting the lungs or the respiratory system. Acute respiratory distress symptoms are reported, cardiovascular shock in most of the cases, severe muscle pain, fatigue, and heart attack. Who are at risk of COVID-19? Recent travelers or residents from high-risk countries such as China, Iran, Italy, Korea, Spain, etc. and close contact with someone who has a confirmed case of COVID-19 such as a family members or healthcare workers or who took care of that infected person. They all are close contacts. Older adults above 60 to 70 years, people who are suffering from diseases like heart disease, diabetes, lung disease, immunological diseases, and cancer. They all come under high-risk categories of COVID-19. What to do if you are sick with COVID-19? If you doubt any symptoms or recent exposure to the suspected case, then contact your doctor or nearby healthcare workers right away if you have COVID-19 symptoms and you have possibly been exposed to the virus or you had any possible contact with an infected person. Give proper travel history. It should be given in detail to the doctor if you have recently traveled internationally, especially to high-risk countries. Call your doctor ahead to tell him or her about your possible exposure before you go to your appointment, so that they can take necessary protective measures at the hospital itself. If you are not admitted and is advised for home isolation, then it's better to stay at home and you should restrict activities outside your home, except for getting medical care. You should also avoid going to public places and using public transportation like traveling by bus, rickshaws, taxis, train, metros, etc. Stay in a specific room. Separate yourself from other people and animals at home. Wear a face mask. Clean and disinfect all common surfaces that you come in contact with. Some of the myths and facts that we come across COVID-19. Myths. Too cold climatic conditions can kill the new coronavirus. People say that, but the fact is, even if the climate is cold or hot, the normal body temperature remains around 37 degrees Celsius. So, there is no reason to believe that external temperature difference can kill the virus. Another thought is, the intensity of COVID-19 would taper down and ultimately vanish with temperature going up. Again, there is no such evidence, as the impact of virus is as serious in hot humid weather conditions of Singapore as well as in the cooler or colder conditions of European nations. Sipping hot water or consumption of alcohol will kill COVID-19. Once the virus reaches your throat, it will affect the cells and it cannot be killed by just drinking hot water or on alcohol consumption. But yes, alcohol-based sanitizers can kill the virus if it is on your hands, but it cannot kill once it is inside the body. So make sure you use hand sanitizers regularly and wash your hands or clean your hands for at least 20 seconds. Another myths are, coronavirus could be transmitted by mosquitoes. The fact is, coronavirus is a respiratory virus which spreads primarily through droplets generated through infected person's cough, sneeze, saliva, or discharge from the nose. There is no evidence that it could be transmitted by mosquitoes. Spraying alcohol or chlorine all over your body will kill viruses. Nothing of that sort, as spraying alcohol or chlorine all over your body will not kill viruses that have already entered your body. They should be used for disinfecting surfaces, not inside your body. Vaccines against pneumonia can give protection against the new coronavirus. Researchers are trying to develop a vaccine against COVID-19. The virus is so new and different that it needs its own vaccine, and vaccines against pneumonia cannot be used against COVID-19. Eating garlic can protect people from new coronavirus. The real fact is that garlic is a healthy food and has some antimicrobial properties, but there is no evidence that eating garlic has protected people from the new coronavirus. Antibiotics are effective in treating the new coronavirus. Antibiotics do not work against viruses. It works only against bacteria. And we know that COVID-19 is a virus, and hence antibiotics are not effective against it. There are some Ayurvedic or homeopathic medicines to be taken as a preventive measures so that you will never be infected with COVID-19. Please don't believe such myths, as there is no such evidence, and some specific treatments are under investigation. WHO or World Health Organization is helping to accelerate research and clinical trials to develop medicines or vaccines against COVID-19. Another myth is that you should not consume non-vegetarian foods as they can spread COVID-19. The real fact is that the chances of getting the virus through cooked meat is not reported, but as a general precaution, the meat should be consumed after it is properly cooked. Stop buying products online as they come from different nations including China, and packages might contain virus. It is again a myth, as first of all, coronavirus can survive on cardboard only for few hours. Because of poor survivability of these coronaviruses on surfaces, there is likely very low risk of spread from products or packaging that are shipped over a period of days or weeks at ambient temperature. But yes, if the delivery boy is suffering from the disease, then through him the disease or virus can be transmitted. So make sure if you buy such packages, you use it only after a day. A person who smokes has more chance of recovery from the infection. No, never. Smoking will decrease the respiratory defense mechanism, and therefore the recovery will be much slower than that of a person who doesn't smoke. Conclusion. Although COVID-19 is a microorganism, it has antedated human beings, and they will continue to cause pandemics. That is, pandemic means it spreads from country to country because of their survival rate and intensity in spread. Even though we have advances in epidemiology, disease biology, molecular biology, genomics, etc., humans are still unable to predict and prevent such viruses like COVID-19. So, it is essential to strengthen biomedical research and improve our healthcare delivery system for mitigating the broader adverse consequences of pandemics. This will require not only national efforts, but we need coordinated efforts globally through international agencies and development partners. So with all our efforts, we can join our hands to prevent this disease called COVID-19. Thank you so much. Let's fight and end it staying at home. Thank you all. Let us move to another important topic, that is, when will COVID-19 end? This is a very important question. So before speaking on it, I would like to discuss about an important topic, that is immunity. What is immunity and what are the types of immunity? So immunity is the power for resisting infections, isn't it? So we have got two types of immunity, that is innate immunity and acquired immunity. So what is innate immunity? Innate immunity is the one which we already have by the time we are born. We already have it with us. That is, for example, skin, the mucosa, and nasal secretions, tears from eyes. So all these things are already present inside our body, which we get protection from, with which we get protection from the existing infections. So that is called as innate immunity. And another type is acquired immunity. So acquired immunity is further divided into two. That is active immunity and passive immunity. So what is active immunity? Active immunity is the one which develops in response to an infection or a vaccination. So that is active. When we get we get an infection, for example chickenpox, we get an infection with chickenpox virus, and then after we get recovered from that, we might not get that infection again in our life. So that is through the antibodies naturally which is developed in response to that infection called chickenpox. So that is a natural active immunity. And what is an artificial immunity? That is the antibodies developed in response to a vaccination. You take a vaccination against for example polio. Against the polio virus you take a vaccination. So then later you won't get that infection again. That is artificial active immunity. Through artificially you're getting that immunity through a vaccination. Next is passive immunity. So passive immunity, we have got a natural as well as artificial. Naturally, how do you get passive immunity? That is directly from mother through breast milk. we get antibodies from our mother through breast milk, that is natural passive immunity. And what is artificial passive immunity? That is through antibodies which are received from medicines like gamma globulin injection or infusion. That is artificial passive immunity. So active immunity is through the infection or vaccination, and passive immunity, that is we receive from someone or somewhere else. That is passive immunity. So here, in the case of coronavirus, we have to go for active immunity, that is naturally either from the antibodies. For example, a person who has already infected with COVID-19, he might recover, and later his body will have antibodies against this organism. And artificially we are trying to get that immunity through vaccination, but it's still under study. We didn't get any vaccination yet. Coming to herd immunity. In the case of Corona-19, we look forward for herd immunity. What is herd immunity? Example, imagine there is an infected person, and that infected person is coming in contact with lot other non-vaccinated but healthy individuals. So this is a vaccinated, yellow denotes vaccinated individual and healthy individual, and green denotes non-vaccinated but healthy, red denotes sick individual. So from the sick individual, when he comes in contact with non-vaccinated individual, what happens that there are chances that these people also get infection. And most of the non-vaccinated but healthy individuals will get the infection. That is due to the fact that most of them are not vaccinated. So when only some people of the population are vaccinated, the disease can spread rapidly through the population. That is what has happened here. Because most of them are not vaccinated, so the disease got spread easily from one single infected person. But whereas in herd immunity, when enough people are vaccinated, contagious diseases can be kept from spreading. That is how, when most of them are vaccinated, that is yellow denotes vaccinated and healthy individual. So this vaccinated individual will protect the non-vaccinated but healthy individual from the sick population. Okay, I repeat, from the sick population, this vaccinated individuals who cover up this sick population from that of non-vaccinated population, they will protect the non-vaccinated community. Again, I repeat, when enough people are vaccinated, contagious diseases can be kept from spreading. So this process is known as herd immunity. That is, a group of people are immunized, and these people will protect the rest of the individuals from getting sick. The rest of the individuals may not be vaccinated, but still these vaccinated individuals will protect the others from spreading the infection. Now, another important part, that is herd immunity threshold. The percentage of people that must have immunity to safely slow or stop an infectious disease is called as herd immunity threshold. For example, measles. Imagine the measles, the herd immunity threshold is 90%. It means that 90% of the individual should be vaccinated, so that the rest of the 10% will not get that disease. I repeat, 90% is the herd immunity threshold for measles. It means that 90% of the individuals should be immunized, so that the rest 100 will not get the disease. Now, there is an equation for herd immunity threshold. How to calculate it? It means 1 minus 1 by R0. R0 is what I have already discussed, that is the reproductive number. So this is the equation for herd immunity threshold. How to calculate herd immunity threshold is by 1 minus 1 by R0, or the reproductive number. Okay, now what is vaccination in the case of COVID-19? So we know that there are some problems related with vaccination. That is, the timeline would be unrealistic. Presently, it is such a big pandemic that it is spreading lots and lots of countries, and individuals are getting infected in multiplied factors. Each day, many are getting infected. So, it's very important that we get a vaccine very soon. So, the time a line will be unrealistic here, because usually a vaccine to be produced, there should be some specific time period, like 6 months to 1 year or 1 year to 2 years. Some time period is definitely required. So here the timeline would be unrealistic in the case of COVID-19. And another important factor is side effects. So since we need the vaccine so soon, there are chances that even if we opt for a faster approach, if it is less conventional, then designing a vaccine with good immunity or good action with minimal side effects is not as simple, because we know that the corona vaccine is coronavirus has its own unique properties. So it's difficult to get such a vaccine so soon. So there are chances that we might get some side effects even if the vaccine is produced so early. And some vaccines can even cause a dangerous situation and need to pass a safety trial. It's very important for every vaccine or a new medicine to pass safety trial. That is, we have got few clinical trials, which is preclinical. Then we have got post-clinical trials, that is phase 1, 2, 3 and 4. So these trials has to be passed. So in phase 1, 20 to 80% of 20 to 80 people will be selected in order to try off the safety part of the vaccine. Then 100 to 300 individuals will be called up for checking out the efficacy part in phase 2 trial. Then in phase 3, almost 1000 to 1000 individuals will be taken, will be called up, and vaccinations will be performed in order to see that whether it is approved by FDA. We submit that after this trial, all the documents will be submitted in order to find out whether this vaccine can actually come into purpose or actually come into the market. So that FDA has to approve it, and then it goes into a clinical trial called phase 4 clinical trial, where more thousands and thousands of people are again vaccinated to find out how effective it is. So these trials will go, it takes quite time, like more than 1 year or so. So that is again a problem. And need for longer lasting vaccine. It is very important that even though we find out a vaccine, it should last for long, not that just for the time period, maybe few months to 1 year or 2 years, this vaccine should act. If it is injected to a person, this vaccine should act for a longer time, that is for years or maybe lifelong. It's not just for 2 years or so. So that is another important part, because we don't know whether after 2 to 3 years we might encounter such coronaviruses again. Hopefully not, but what if we encounter such virus again? So it's necessary that these vaccines should last longer if it is injected in a person. So these are the important part in the case of vaccine that the organizations are facing right now. So once all these factors are put up or solved, we'll definitely get a proper vaccine for the COVID-19. So we all will pray and hope for that. So that's all in the case of the topic, that whether about the ending part of COVID-19. Hand washing technique. So before washing our hands, we should wet our hands with water and then apply enough soap to get proper lather. So in the first step, we have to rub hands palm to palm so that good lather is formed. In the second step, rub again palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Third step is rub right palm at the back of left palm with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Fourth step, rub base of your left thumb with right hand and vice versa. In the fifth step, back of your fingers should be rubbed to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. 6. Rub tips of fingers in opposite palm in a circular motion. Both hands should be done. Then rub each wrist with opposing hand. This should be again done for both the hands. Finally, we have to wash our hands properly and dry with a dry towel. The entire process takes about 20 to 30 seconds.